So thank you everybody for watching another edition of our Fayette County Democratic Party virtual town hall. I'm Clint Porter, chair of the Fayette County Democratic Party, and I'm here with Charles Booker, who is a candidate for the party's nomination for United States Senate. Charles, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, brother, it's good to be with you.
So we decided to do this because during this time of social distancing and healthy at home, it's sometimes a little more difficult for candidates to get out in front of the voters. So we thought this would be a great way for us to let our voters here in Fayette County know who our candidates are and what they stand for. One of the things that we also find that voters love to get to know the candidates personally. So the first two questions I'm going to ask are a little more personal, and then we will jump right into the policy questions if you're ready.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the first one, during this time of healthy at home, are there any television shows that you're streaming or binging or any books that you're reading that you think voters should check out?
Yeah, so it's been tough to get fully caught up on my reading because I'm trying to keep up with two students at home, a sixth grader and a preschooler. And I just want to say to all my teachers, thank you for all your heroic service, because this is just giving me grades by the minute. But I did begin reading Mitch Please. Actually, I got a couple of copies of that. That is a great book by my brother, Matt Jones. You should certainly read that. And I've actually been watching a couple of shows. One is called Black Lightning, a superhero show, and I've rewatched Avengers Infinity War and Endgame a couple of times to get my motivation. So.
Right. During this time of healthy at home, we've all had a little extra time to be introspective. Have you learned anything about yourself that you didn't know that you want to share?
Well, it's not that I didn't know it, but it was reaffirmed. I'm very big on family. Like whenever I talk to someone across Kentucky, I see everyone as my family. And this time has given me the chance to really sit down and connect with my daughters, in a lot of ways that we sort of take for granted when we're busy and I'm running to Frankfurt or running to a protest or something like that. And so just being able to sit and talk to them has meant a lot. And this moment reminds us to embrace the little things and to embrace the people around us that we love and that inspire us.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to jump into the policy questions now. So we asked Democrats in Lexington over the last couple of weeks to provide us with some questions that they wanted to hear for the various races that are on the ballot.
Okay.
We narrowed it down to 7 questions for the Senate candidates. And so let's jump right in. The first one is related to COVID-19, sort of. COVID-19 has changed and will continue to change several aspects of our everyday lives. In that change, for a lot of people, it's exposing the great income inequality here in Kentucky. Moving forward, what should our leaders be doing to address this issue of income inequality?
Thank you for asking that question, and I appreciate those that posed it, because that ultimately is the conversation that we have to have. Now, we got to work together and make it through this pandemic, make it through this trying time. And I'm proud to work with Governor Beshear, my colleagues in the legislature, in putting politics aside to do that. But there's a reality here. And the fact of the matter is, we were dealing with structural inequity before this pandemic. We were dealing with structural racism before this pandemic. Folks were hanging on by a thread before this pandemic, and now it's being exacerbated. And so the policies that I've been advocating for years and I'm pushing for in this campaign about how do we end generational poverty are being shown now to not be radical, but to be good public policy, because we need it now. So for instance, we all need to make sure that healthcare is not defined by your zip code or how much money you have in your pocket. And we need Medicare for all, because if we had it, we would have been better prepared for a health crisis like we're feeling right now. And the same thing with the fact that so many folks are losing their jobs, record unemployment. Folks are wondering how they're going to keep the lights on and pay the rent, because that's coming up in a couple of days here. And universal basic income is something that I've been advocating for years. And now you see a growing bipartisan coalition saying we need that. So I think this is a moment to say that we need to invest in people, prioritize families first, not these big corporations. And if we don't, we're going to see the types of challenges that you see in Appalachia for years, that you've seen in the West End of Louisville for years. High unemployment, a lot of folks struggling to find jobs, folks dealing with homelessness like I've had to do, rationing insulin like I've had to do. And we can prevent those things with good leadership. And that's why I'm running for Senate.
Thank you for that. So small businesses across Kentucky are hurting right now. Many have applied for the Paycheck Protection Program. Others have yet to have access to those funds. We are particularly concerned about minority-owned small businesses. What should be done to ensure that people of color are not shut out of programs like the PPP?
That is such an important fact that often gets glossed over or missed and falls in blind spots. Because we deal with structural inequity, that means a lot of communities are robbed of the opportunities that we would like to believe are fair and equal for everyone. And in communities like my own, it's been hard over generations to get access to capital so that you can qualify for loans. It's been hard to get the adequate credit scoring to where you can qualify. And I've worked in supporting local independent businesses for years. I actually worked in Louisville with LIBA, Louisville Independent Business Alliance. And our job was to help small businesses, aspiring entrepreneurs get on their feet. And it's so hard when you're in a community that is already struggling. And that bodes true all across Kentucky. And so as this program rolls out, we got to have intentional leadership to make sure that people aren't being left behind.
So we've touched on this a little bit. You mentioned it in the answer to your first question. Right now, some critical weaknesses in our system of employer-based healthcare have become painfully obvious. What do you believe is the best way to remedy this problem now, and particularly before the next crisis comes around?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've talked about this a lot in telling my story and dealing with health struggles and not being able to afford my insulin, and the times that I've been unemployed, trying to figure out, well, how am I going to make sure I keep getting this insulin I need to live? And the reality is our livelihood, our value as human beings is not simply tied to an hourly wage. And when folks are losing their jobs now, they're trying to figure out, well, how do I make sure I stay healthy? And my argument for universal health care, saying we need Medicare for all, really goes back to a fundamental point. If healthcare is a human right like we say it is, we need to mean it, and that means no one should have to die because they don't have money in their pocket. And, in Kentucky, a lot of folks are dealing with high prescription costs, lack of access to quality care, and when a pandemic happens, it means we get hit even harder. And so that is why I am proud of to be an advocate and not to equivocate on that issue. We can't afford that. And I've been endorsed by Demand Universal Healthcare for my work on this. And it is something that once we win this race, we win this primary and we get in the Senate, I'm going to join the growing coalition to finally win Medicare for all.
Great. So you talk about when you join the Senate and what's going on. So this question sort of is about that. Hundreds of bills have passed the House, only to become paperweights on Senator McConnell's desks. Which of these measures would you like to see the Senate put into motion day one in 2021?
Yeah, and considering all the bills that Mitch McConnell is letting collect dust on his desk, it just gives us, if we weren't already pissed off at this guy, he calls himself the Grim Reaper because he knows that he kills legislation that would keep people alive and keep our democracy thriving. And three that I would just pick just from the top would be campaign finance reform. There was a very strong piece of legislation that was passed out of the House, H.R. 1, that would deal with a lot of the things that I've been fighting for at the state level. Kentucky for a while has been one of the most disenfranchised states in the country. And how do we make it easier for people to vote and get all this dark money out of politics? So that would be one. And I share my story a lot about how gun violence has affected my family. Had 4 cousins murdered the past 4 years. And so many of us carry that trauma of this public health crisis. And there are bills that would promote common sense gun safety, expand background checks, have substantial majority support across this country, bipartisan support that Mitch McConnell doesn't give a damn about. And the third one that I would pick out of that big stack is one that passed earlier this year to strengthen organized labor, the PRO Act. We know that labor has been under attack. It was definitely and continues to be under attack here in Kentucky. I'm thankful we have Governor Beshear now, because Matt Bevin made it his mission to try to kick us off the cliff. But we need to strengthen organized labor. And day one, I'm coming in saying, let's blow the dust off those bills and finally get that done.
Great. So a lot of people right now are concerned about basically our system of government. Is it working? And I think if you look across the board, the Senate is broken.
Yeah.
And so besides removing McConnell from the Senate, which we hope to do in November, what other changes would you like to see in that institution?
Yeah, well, I want to just underscore what you said, and we all believe getting rid of Mitch McConnell is going to do so much good for our country, but also for the functioning of the U.S. Senate. The majority leader has a lot of control over the rules that determine how bills are heard and seen the light of day, and he is blocking the democratic process. He's blocking the people from being heard, and just getting him out of the way will allow senators to be able to deliberate and debate and take hard votes like they're elected to do. But I also think we need to get rid of the filibuster. It's been abused at this point in a way to essentially stop discussion, debate that is needed, to block bills that could pass, that have support, but because Mitch McConnell is not interested in progress, has allowed the filibuster to be used as a weapon to stop all progress at all. So I do support removing the filibuster in that sense, and making sure that we have leadership that will allow rules that mean that deliberation happens. Debate on bills can happen now, and we can address structural issues facing our Commonwealth.
Great. So I have two more questions for you, and then we will open it up to you to talk about whatever it is that you feel like you want to talk to voters about. And these two questions are not really policy related, but I think they're important for the party and the country and the state. How will you work as both our nominee and our senator to engage young voters in the conversations about how to move our state and our country forward?
Thank you for that question. I was really excited to know that this is not just a priority for myself, but so many Kentuckians. And, I'm leading with that because I feel that. And of course, I'm the youngest person running. And I'm the youngest Black state legislator in Kentucky since the very first one. And so a lot of rooms I go in over the years, working in every level of government as a young person, were first looked at as, well, you're here to take notes, not to be heard. And in this campaign, I wanted to make it clear that we're elevating the voice of young leaders all over the Commonwealth, from the mountains to the farmlands, to the hood in the West End of Louisville, and all across, to say that this is time for you to lead. And so what we do is not just simply engage young people, we get out of the way. And what that means for me is building infrastructure, even with this campaign, where we have over 300 volunteers. A lot of folks are high school students, college students. Some of these amazing trailblazers have never gotten involved in politics before because they were like, what the hell's the point? And we change things by letting them know that you're accounted for. Your voice matters. And I want to lead that way. And one thing that I want to do is turn the district offices into community resource centers. So a lot of work happens in communities like mine where folks can meet in public places and brainstorm and put ideas together. And imagine we can engage our U.S. Senator and have a community space in the district office. And so I'm going to carry that with me. I'm really excited about that because young people are, to say they're the future is an understatement. They're right now. And we need that change, and we all got a lot of arms to do it.
So our last question is, what would you do as our senator to improve civic competency in Kentucky?
So my central message coming into the state legislature was, how do we break down barriers to democracy? That's why I sponsored restoration of voting rights. That's why I co-sponsored legislation to expand access to voting, early hours, lower the age to run for office. Like we just got to keep doing these things to break those barriers down. And we're doing that now in this campaign by saying, how do we train and equip folks where they are? How do we give them the tools, even if they don't feel comfortable coming into the four walls of a campaign office And this pandemic has really helped to shine a light on that, because you can't come into the four walls of a campaign office. So how do you empower folks to be citizen organizers, lobbyists, do relational organizing where they are? And, one thing that was really big for me, I made people my mentors. I bugged everyone. In working in every level of government, just trying to figure out how do we make things better for communities like mine that are forgotten. I learned a whole lot just studying from folks. And I really appreciate Emerge Kentucky. What they've been able to do in creating a platform for women to be heard and to understand how to navigate the political arena. We need to expand that for a lot of communities that don't know where to start and would love to be heard. So I want to take that on and use the Office of U.S. Senate to really help beef that up so we can have more folks running for local and state and federal office.
Great. So we have a few minutes left. I just want to open it up to you to hit on the things that you think that voters should know about you, about your campaign, about positions that you have. It's sort of just whatever you'd like to tell us.
Yeah. So, well, first I would say that I'm so honored. I'm proud. I'm humbled to be on this journey. And I want to make it clear, I don't give a damn about Mitch McConnell. I'm not running to simply replace him. This is for us. I'm running because I'm tired of seeing poverty be generational. I'm tired of seeing folks go without eating so they can keep the lights on like my mom had to do. And I believe we need leadership right now that has lived the struggle that a lot of politicians talk and pander about and has been on the front lines fighting for change. And that's what I've been doing. And we have a chance to not only vote against a terrible, terrible person, but we can vote for someone we believe in. And I've done the work, passing bipartisan legislation. The only person running now that's serving in elected office that has had to deal with our own mini Donald Trump and still get bills passed that benefit and save lives for Kentuckians. And we're building the infrastructure to do it. If you're asking how do you beat Mitch McConnell, you have to inspire a movement. We got to let folks know that change is possible. And we have to create a sense of understanding that we are all accounted for. And by working with Sunrise Movement, getting their endorsement, Kentuckians for the Commonwealth endorsing, Income Movement, Brand New Congress, Demand Universal Health Care, all these grassroots and citizen-led groups that are standing with us is how we create the change that will not only beat Mitch, but transform our future. And if you want to help finally get that done, go to bookerforkentucky.com, lock arms with us. We can lock arms virtually for right now. And let's take care of our home and our families and win this race.
Well, Charles, thank you so much for spending some time with us. It means a lot to us here at the party. I know it means a lot to our voters who are out there trying to find information about our candidates. For those of you watching, remember that the primary is June 23rd. You'll be receiving information about how to vote absentee, and that stuff will be on our website as well. But Charles, I'll let you get back to the rest of your evening, and thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you, brother. Thanks to Fayette County. Love y'all. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon.
Have a good one.
All right, brother.